Couch, dogs, me, guitar lessons.
Hey there, Lydian Riffers, how are you doing? Welcome to another awesome lesson right here on Lydian Riff, in which we're going to dispel the mystery around guitar scales and modes. And I'm going to show you the most intuitive, easiest way of learning, understanding, hearing, and playing guitar modes without much effort. And the way we're going to do it is to go completely the wrong way about it. Because the right way to learn scales and modes is supposed to be through theory. But that's a huge source of confusion and frustration for most players, because how are you supposed to understand the theory behind the modes? How are you supposed to calculate the modes and which note is out of place inside the scale if you're not yet used to them? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you used to the modes first, and then you'll be able to understand them better because you're going to be able to hear them. Each mode has a very distinct sound. And even when we're talking about the minor and major scales, those are also modes. And that's the important thing to understand here. Modes are basically just minor and major scales, and each mode has one note out of place. The Locrian mode has two notes out of place, and we're going to leave that to the end of the lesson. So the way I suggest learning and memorizing the scales first is to use the good old pentatonic scale as our basis. Now bear with me here. I know that the pentatonic scale tends to box people into itself, and then it's hard to get out of it. But if you use the pentatonic scale as a basis, because it's really easy to understand, okay, this concept, and memorize that shape. Okay, you probably have it memorized already. So we'll start from that, and then we'll add the missing notes into it, and then we'll start moving them around and see what we get. So the pentatonic scale can be both a minor pentatonic scale and a major pentatonic scale. For example, if we're playing it on 5 and we have 8-5, 8-5, 7-5, 7-5, 7-5, 8-5, then we have an A minor pentatonic. Okay? But if we want an A major pentatonic, then all we have to do is take the 5 and have it as our second note, meaning we go down 3 frets and start from there. So the 5 is our second note. So we have 2-5 on the 6th fret. Okay, you can start from 5 and then go down. So it's 5, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 5, 2, 5. And that's the major pentatonic, the A major pentatonic. So 5. See? Okay, that means that this is also a major scale somehow, right? The second note of the scale is the major key. So this, the A minor pentatonic scale, is also the C major pentatonic scale. Okay, see? And the A major pentatonic scale is also the F sharp minor pentatonic scale. Okay? So each pentatonic scale is actually two scales. It's a minor and a major. And that's the important thing to understand about any scale. And that's the key to understanding what we're going to do here. Because we can move the same shape 3 frets down or up and get its minor or major equivalent. And that will help us memorize the modes. So again, we have A minor pentatonic on 5. And we have A major pentatonic with 5 as its second note if we start on 2. Okay, but we can start on 5. Okay, we can start with the root note. Okay, but most people would prefer starting with 2. Okay, just remember that this note is actually the root for the equivalent relative minor scale. Okay, so that's for the pentatonic. Okay, so you probably know this scale already, this shape. So this is actually missing two notes. And if we want to play the full major or minor scale, we need to add 7 on the E string, so we get 8, 7, 5. 6 on the B string, so we get 8, 6, 5. Okay, so we get, and 4 on the third string, so we get 7, 5, 4. Okay, we also have 8 on the fifth string, so we have 8, 7, 5. And the same note we added on the E string adds itself on the E bass string, so 7 on the sixth string as well, so 8, 7, 5. Okay, so we added two notes, okay, in different octaves. So it's 7 and 6 on strings 1 and 2, 4 on the third string, and 8 and 7 on strings 5 and 6. This, okay, this is the same note as this, an octave apart, and this is the same note as this, 2 octaves apart. 1 octave apart is the 4. So, okay, these are the notes we add. So you practice this and you have the full minor scale. Okay, so and now get used to this. If you take this 3 frets down, you have the A major scale. Exactly the same shape. Okay, so sounds major, right? Okay, listen to it. A minor. A major. Okay? And of course, this is also F sharp minor and C major. Okay, and F sharp minor. Okay, so you see how by adding the missing notes you get the complete scale, you get the full scale. So practice this, okay? If you need to practice this, stop the video and practice this, because you need to learn to hear the difference between minor and major. Okay, and you don't have to run over the scale all the time. You can create music right away with it. Just play the notes out of sequence. With the scale to get the minor scale sound. Then do the same thing with the major scale. Okay? Just invent your own little melodies out of it. Just make sure you keep a good rhythmic sense, and if you have a nice groove, then the music will practically create itself as long as you just use the scale notes. Trust me, it works. And that way you'll also make your first steps in improvisation, which you might enjoy and like, and I have a full playlist for soloing and improvisation playlist if you like. So it's highly recommended. That way you train your ear as well as your fingers. So once you have your major and minor scales, all you need to do to hear the modes is to get notes out of place. And the great thing about the guitar is that if you move the shape, you get an equivalent scale. So for example, if we have the Dorian mode, its equivalent, 3 frets down, would be the Lydian mode. You don't even have to relearn a shape. You just use the same shape. Instead of on a minor scale, you use it on a major scale. So let's do that. To get the Dorian, okay, it's a minor scale. So you need the A minor, okay, key, okay, the A minor scale notes. Just move the 6 to 7, okay, on the second string, and then you get the Dorian scale. Okay, let's hear that. Okay, I know we need to move the lower notes as well, but let's wait with that. Okay, let's learn to hear the slight difference. Okay, instead of you have, suddenly you have a major sound instead of the minor sound. Okay, you have this, okay, in blues, and that creates this. Okay, you have A minor, and instead of D minor, which is the natural D chord in the scale, you have D major. Okay, which creates a hopeful, optimistic sort of sound. Okay, so if we want to move the lower note, then instead of 8 on the 5th string, we'll play 4 on the 3rd, which is the octave of this. So okay, and you get the Dorian scale. So again, play around with that. And if you like, just put an A minor D vamp in the background if you have a looping device. Okay? Okay, and okay, you see how you get one note out of place and it's still a minor scale, but it's now a Dorian scale. Let's take this 3 frets down, and we'll have a Lydian. Okay, because this is the note we're moving. Instead of 3 on the 2nd string, okay, we have 4 on the 2nd string, and now we have this, exactly the same shape. Let's start from A, okay, so we can hear the major sound. Okay, instead of this, we have, okay, 1 on the 3rd string now. Okay, so this is the Lydian sound. Get used to it. Okay, play A and just play the Lydian scale and you'll see the difference between, okay, a normal major sound and a Lydian sound. Now, after you're you're done with the Dorian and the Lydian, you'll want to try the Phrygian and the Mixolydian. Let's go back to the original shape. Okay, this one. Okay? You'll want to take the 7 on the E string down to 6, and then you'll have this. Okay? Now this might immediately sound familiar, it might sound Spanish to you, and that's right, because in Spanish music you have the Phrygian scale. Okay? So that's probably the easiest one to recognize right away. And because we moved the 7, we need to move the 4 as well, so instead of 4 on the 3rd string, we'll play 8 on the 4th. So So you also have the 6 on the 6th string, because if you move the 7 to 6 on the E, the high E string, you have the same on the low string. So you have 8. Okay? This is the Phrygian scale, and it might sound immediately familiar, as I said. Okay? Same thing, 3 frets down, is the Mixolydian scale. The Mixolydian gives you A7. Because you move, okay, you move this, the major 7, down to a minor 7, and this gives you the tension chord, you know, the basis to all tension and dominant chords, the 7th chord, okay, A7. So that's the Mixolydian scale. Okay, so let's okay, now you might be hearing the minor still, so start from A, don't start from F sharp. Okay? Okay, it has a different ending. Instead of a pleasant ending, you have a strong ending, because that's the 7th. Get used to the sound with the chord. Instead of the pleasant major 7, you have a challenging sound. Okay, the strong dominant 7 sound. Okay, so that's the way to hear that. And believe it or not, we covered most of the modes. Now, you know the blues pentatonic scale, I hope. If not, this is it. Okay, using the flat 5. It's the pentatonic scale, adding the 8 on the 3rd string. Okay, it's 8, 5, 7. And also 6 on the 5th, so it's 7, 6, 5. Okay, and that's, okay, this is the flat 5. Okay, and this is also a sound you need to know, so if you don't know it, know it. It's one of the most important sounds in modern music, the flat 5. So add it to the pentatonic first. And then we'll add it to the Locrian scale. The Locrian scale is the Phrygian scale with a flat 5. Okay, so you're actually taking 2 notes out of place. So you get this, okay? Listen to it, it's a little bit weird, right? Okay, the Phrygian. Okay, instead of this, you get this. Okay, you don't play both of them. I did it on purpose. Okay, so the note is this. Okay? And then you get this. Okay, the flat 5. The flat 2. Okay, the flat 2 is in the Phrygian. Okay, it's a strange scale. Okay? And this kind of corresponds with the minor 7 flat 5 chord. Okay, the half diminished chord. Okay, because this has the flat 5. Okay, it's in the name, minor 7 flat 5. Okay, it has the flat 5. Okay, so that's why the scale sounds weird, because it corresponds with a half diminished chord. So we have the 6 on the E string, just like in the Phrygian scale, also on the E bass string, and also the 8 on the 4th string. Okay, but now we have 6 on the 5th string as well, and we have 8 on the 3rd string instead of 5 on the 2nd. So we get this. Okay? Remember, 8 on the 4th string instead of the natural 4 on the 3rd string. So, okay? On the 5th, and 2 on the 6th. Now, most chances are you won't ever have to play the Locrian scale, right? Now, all the rest of the modes have a very distinct sound, a very strong characteristic, a very strong character. The Locrian mode is a jumble of notes. That's what it feels like at first. So, again, take your time, scale by scale, okay, and shape by shape. Learn to hear the characteristics. Learn to hear the difference between the minor and the major. To first add the notes, and then take one note out of place for each respective mode. Learn to hear it and play around with it. And hopefully this solves some of your modal problems in getting to know the sound. And what about the rest of the neck, you ask? After you learn to hear the scales, to hear the characteristics of each scale, the colors of each scale, the change, in each scale, after you learn to hear the colors, it's actually really easy to find it around the neck, because if you know the minor scale all over the neck, then you already know that you can transpose it 3 frets down for the major. If you have the major, then you can transpose it 3 frets up for the minor, and then you just hear which note to move. And I know what some of you are saying, yeah, right, I will hear what note to move, but that's how it works. If you hear this, then you'll know when this note comes up, okay? If you learn to recognize the Lydian note. And if you hear the Mixolydian note, the 7th note, it's actually pretty easy to find it around the neck. It's the 7th of the key, Okay, it's a dominant 7. It's not called a dominant for nothing. It's dominant. It's a dominant sound, so you can find it anywhere. So that's your lesson. So thank you for watching, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. There's a ton of lessons already here, and I upload regularly, so come join the Lick and Riff community. Everything is for free, of course, completely for free. But if you want to give something back anyway and help around with making these lessons, making your guitar education, then you can use the link in the description and go to the Patreon page and pledge whatever it is you want to give back. And I thank you in advance for your generosity. Or you can donate a one-time donation via the donation button on the Lick and Riff website. Either way is fine, and I thank you in advance. And thank you very much for watching. Bye. Enjoy.